Hey, I'm Mike. Hello. And I'll just read just a little bit of the instructable, basically the closing on the introduction, which says that the final projects of this instructable are not intended to be something you can sleep in, serve dinner on, grow vegetables in, or shelter one's self under. Instead, they are the prototypes from testing theories, techniques, and tools to build projects eventually, right, that one can sleep on, serve dinner on, grow vegetables in, and shelter one's self under. So basically what I'm saying is that there's not anything that we can sleep on here, eat dinner on, but that what it is I just spent the last month and a half making prototypes to build things that we can do that with. And so there's beds, bunk beds, dorm room lofts, railings, even small shelters, garden beds, all this kind of stuff. And it's all based on the prototypes that I've been working on here now. So what this is going to do for me is it's going to give me a system that I can use to just go forward. Instead of having all these different ways of doing it, I'm going to stick with a certain type of system, certain types of tools. I can set up my big tools, the shapers, and get all ready to go, and then I can just crank them out without having to do all these reset things. So a couple of the prototypes that I've done, and I've kind of numbered them a little bit, but basically this is prototype number 1, and this is this is called the baseline, and basically what it is, it's this. I use this for the settings. So I'm going to set up there will be a dado in here on all of these that is 3/8 inch deep. That was my final decision. The dado is going to be 3/4 inch wide, but the material, the web, these are all I-beams, by the way. The web on an I-beam is this part here. These are called the flanges. The webs are going to be, for the most part, 1 inch or greater. And then the flanges initially are going to be 3 inches, but they can be smaller or larger. But this is my starting point on every single one. So then there's going to be, that's the prototype number 1, right? And then I'll get into posts on it, but then they're all going to be a post and rail. So they're going to attach via a knockdown joinery system. It's something that I've been using for years and years, doing it DIY, making my own, and I finally started having some of them made up, and then I even went so far as having it patented, and the US patent gave me 2 patents on it. So that's in here, but I'm going to show you in this instructable how to make them so you can just do your own, as long as you're not doing it from a business standpoint. It's just personal use. If you're in business doing it, making furniture out of them, or you're going to go into production, then again, it is a patented item, and I would ask that you contact me. So this is the way that the things would go together. These are the prototypes. So 2 posts, typically 4.5 by 4.5. And then the prototype, the rail would go across like that, right? So then what I did is I said, all right, how about instead of having a rail that high, what if we were to go to a little higher rail? Where do I have it? Okay. So a typical bed, like a bed, the footboard, the headboard, and then the sideboards would probably be closer to that, maybe not quite this high, and then there would be different ways of doing this, but that's the same method. It's an I-beam construction, the same dados, the same flange type of system, the same joinery. It's just a different way of doing it. These are all, by the way, made from scrap pieces that I had laying around. You can see I do tend to go rustic on a lot of stuff. And then, so that was prototype number 2. And then prototype number 3 was really a remake, and what I wanted to do was make sure that we could do diagonals. So just have to, there we go, okay. So we can do diagonals on them, right? Using the same method of joinery, which is the knockdown method of joinery. Again, either stuff that I have fabricated or make your own. But that would be like for a railing, going down a stair system, or up, but also for making farmhouse style bases on tables and benches and things like that, because you're going to have an angle to a lot of those, right? So that's prototype number 3. And then prototype number 4, I think, was this one here. I get them mixed up, but this one basically, just let's set that aside for a minute. And this was some firewood. I was putting some wood in the fire, and I grabbed a couple of pieces and thought, geez, could I make something out of that? So there's that, and that's basically firewood. That was oak, 3, 4, 5 years old, some leftover, I don't know, hickory or something. And then I experimented with all different ways of doing I've done two-part poly, or the two-part epoxy a lot, but this was a little unique. And then I learned from this, what is it that I need to do to prevent, oozing from when I'm using all these different boards. But basically that's the same system, right? So now what we do is that then would go into the same mortise, the same tenon. There you go. Okay, and then there's a bolt that goes in here, and you can take these apart over and over and over again. And it's, again, that's why it's so just perfect for beds and bunks and dorm room lofts and stuff that has to be taken down, right? Okay, so I've got that. Then not everybody, I tend to use a shaper a lot. I have 2 shapers, jet shapers. Well, that makes the dado for me. The dados, otherwise you can do them on a router table. You could do them, or you could also do them with a stacked dado blade, like on a what do you call it, a table saw. And so, but not everybody has those tools. So I did another prototype where you can basically make the I-beams without any kind of, without a dado blade, without a shaper, and that's by using GlueUps. And so you're making your dados is what you're really doing by gluing up a strip of wood and then you space it and all that kind of stuff. So I cover that in one of the prototypes. Let's see here once. And then where else did I go? Oh, and then this is another prototype. Ooh, this one is for, if you can catch it, I'm not sure if you see the whole thing, but this was garden beds. And we have several of these that I built 15 years ago, and they've been holding up really, really well. They need a little TLC, but other than that, so I thought, why don't I make garden beds out of the same style? So again, we have the I-beam approach, right? Now this one I didn't get very far on because once I got into it, I just needed to make too many changes. And again, prototyping, sometimes you just gotta say that's enough, and I did. That's why it's clamped together instead of otherwise, right? But no, so that is going to actually be one of my next main projects, which I think I'll be doing an Instructable on, and that'll be making garden beds out of natural slate. And so I stopped at Home Depot yesterday or the day before, picked up some natural slate. It's got to be natural slate because it can't handle the weather otherwise. And then somebody said this might be able to use porcelain. And then I also picked up some of this stuff. And this could be, I'm not sure if this could be used outdoors, like on the outside of a garden bed. But otherwise, if we just look at that, that could be the side of a bed, right? The bed rail, the side rail, or the footboard, or whatever. Other tables, I don't know, whatever else, right? But that's like that stuff that's off-the-shelf stuff. I had other methods of doing it. But anyhow, that's kind of where things went. Again, it's all about prototyping. And so in the end, there are so many projects that can come out of this. It's unbelievable. This is basically a lifetime of woodworking that once the person gets started on. Because so again, it would be beds, bunk beds, dorm room lofts. I want to make a dorm room loft for my grandson who's in grade school right now, but something that he can use now and for the years to come, and then take it to college if he goes off to college. And then the garden beds, of course, for my wife. Otherwise, I'll just put them on Etsy. I might make a bed from time to time, but it'll be the same system. We travel, we go RVing, and so then when we do that, I love Googling reclaimed wood near me, and I was able to pick up some sinker cypress. I'll cover that a little bit. Wow, built that. That's a sofa server table. But there's stuff like that, and then I ran across this company that sells wood from Jim Beam, teardowns of their distillery. It's certified as such. That will be the same system, right? So that would be that kind of stuff that we'd be making out of that. And it's all the same system. It's the I-beam shape, and it's the mortise, or excuse me, not the mortise, it's mortise and tenon, but and then it's the dado and the tongue, and the whole system is kind of all there. So again, hope you enjoy it. And as I get into each of the prototypes, that's where I get into the detail, the video, everything that goes along with it. So again, hope you enjoy.